Good morning, everyone. Susan Gerbic from Psychics Explained here at Catnip Corners. Good morning. I have a cat that's trying to settle down over here. I wanted to talk about the article that just came out in the Sydney Morning News yesterday. And I have an archived version of it because I don't have a subscription to the Sydney Morning News. So I'm going to show it to you and I will link to it underneath. And let's just kind of talk about this a little bit because as I read through it, I thought to myself, well, there's things I should have said better, and there's some things that I should have not said. I don't think there's anything I shouldn't have said. Well, let's look at it real quick. So this appeared November 8th, 2025, and I'm recording this on November 9th, 2025. And it's by Peter FitzSimons. Now, Peter FitzSimons had done an article before, and let me pull that up. I think he might have done two articles before. He is definitely not a fan of John Edward, but he's Australian. And he is not like me, somebody who's very interested in this world where we dive into the deep pool of psychic mediums. And you guys yourself who are watching this are probably a lot more educated about this world as well. I mean, this was article he put out in 2019. It's called I Have a Word for John Edward. It starts with an F and ends with a D. And I don't even remember reading it at the time, but in 2019, I also had a lot of opinions about psychic mediums that probably you might not recognize me now as the same person if you heard my opinions back in 2019 and even before that. It's taken a lot of work, and I appreciate you guys are with me on this journey of trying to understand, to really get what's going on. And I was all about the tricks, cold reading, hot reading, Barnum statements, speaking very fast, all that kind of stuff. That was what was going on. And still, most people are there. That's what they think. People are throwing out initials of words, and they're just grifting on these people. And also, the opinion back in 2019 might have been a little bit more blame the victim kind of stuff. That psychics should be put in jail, and that the people who are victims of them are stupid and they're naive and whatever. So that might have been the opinions back in 2019, but that is definitely not my opinion now. And I think I'm a lot more informed. And I think I'm kind of the only person who's really talking like this. Maybe Fleur might be an exception from Fleur's Phantom Files. She might agree with me a little bit more, but I have a totally different opinion now. And no, you're still not talking to the dead. They're still not communicating with the dead. I don't believe anybody should be in prison or in jail for this. I think they should just be out of business. I think they should be selling suits at the mall or something. I just don't think that we should be. I don't think it's a good use of people's money, but then again, that's not my business, because I think we all have our own free will and we can spend our money as we please. I just like to think that people would be more informed, and I don't like the way the media and influencers and celebrities are enabling these psychic mediums to continue being in business. If they told the truth and they actually understood what was going on and they came out and explained what's happening, I think that this industry wouldn't dry up, but I think these celebrity mediums would definitely struggle a lot and maybe have to get a job selling jackets at the mall. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think that has more value in life, that they're helping somebody pick out the right size and look good in their clothing and stuff, and good quality. That's got more it's higher in my life of people who are say they're speaking to the dead. Okay. Let's start off first with this article. I Have a Word for John Edward, and starts with an F and ends with a D, by Peter FitzSimons in June 30th, 2019. And I'm not going to read it to you. I will link to it and you can read it, but let's just kind of skim it. All right, here it is. It was published in the Sunday the Sunday, yeah, the Sydney Morning Herald. Okay. I can't remember the name of these things. So John Edward has been coming over to Australia for a while now. And this guy's really like done with him. He's like, this is it. So Peter FitzSimons starts talking about what he's like, and he starts going on again about the fact that John Edward uses a lot of cold reading tactics that are, I mean, basic stuff like Sylvia Browne, very old school, not like a Matt Fraser. And what he's doing is he's throwing out initials and things and seeing what people hit on. And so Peter FitzSimons thinks this is fraud and thinks very lowly of him. And he's like, well, I don't know why it still continues. The show is not, he's really putting the show down. He's really putting down the practice. And he says that, he called him out as a fraud and nothing ever came of it. Yeah, I don't believe that John Edward would ever respond. I mean, John Edward's probably got enough money for 2 islands out there and a train service going between them. Come on. So he don't care. He's been called the biggest douche in the universe by South Park. Come on now. How much lower can you go? He probably laughed about it too. I mean, I'm sure John Edward wasn't even funny at all, going, yeah, thanks for keeping my name in the news and keeping me relevant. Ka-ching, ka-ching. Not that I'm saying anything bad about Peter FitzSimons. He's a very nice man, and we had long conversations. But I don't think John Edward really cares. Okay, so here, going to the article that just came out. Calling out the grief vampires, how John Edward and other psychic mediums ply their amoral trade, from the Sydney Morning Herald, November 9th, 2025. So he calls me a leading American skeptic. I love the spelling. This goes to my YouTube channel. So I am looking to see if people are following the links. And so far, I haven't seen anything. It's been 12 hours, maybe a day, something like that. And I haven't seen any boost in people coming to my channel or friending me on Facebook or sending me emails or anything of the sort. Though I think this is well read. I've heard from many people, they've sent me the article saying, hey, look what I just saw. And then it's also on The Age, and it's also on, I think, the Brisbane, let me see, Brisbane Herald or something like that. I mean, it's out there, and it's Australian. It is hitting it. Reddit got it. Okay, Sydney Morning Herald, Brisbane Times, The Age, Reddit, something called shakrana.com, some Australian something. Yeah, so it's starting to appear in different places. And it's only been a day. But these things get picked up by other places and republished. So in Australia, it's getting a lot of play. And then, of course, it's hitting the Facebooks and that kind of stuff. But I haven't seen anything. And it makes you really wonder about, do people really read articles in depth and follow the links that are given? Or is that just there for eyeballs to make it sound like they're being there? Because I'm not seeing any extra traffic. And I would have thought I would have saw traffic and messages. What time? Hey, Siri, what time is it in Australia right now? Hey, Siri, what time is it in Australia right now? 4:30 a.m. Well, that might be partly why. Sorry for everybody who's now at home listening to this and your phone is telling you what time it is in Australia. Like, there's only one time zone, right? Okay. Sorry, I'm not thinking. Okay, going back. All right. So I had a lot of conversations with FitzSimons. What's his name? Sorry, FitzSimons. Peter FitzSimons. Peter. Because he he was still on the old, outdated ideas about what's going on with the psychic world. And we had conversations, and I kind of, one email exchange we had, he said, I need to wait and really think about what you're saying for a day or so. I really need to think about this because this is different. This is out there. So we talked about grief vampires. I really didn't want to talk about John Edward at all, but he wanted to talk about John Edward. So it kind of really went back to John Edward. John Edward is not my focus. There are some videos of him on my channel. He's so, like I said, old school, and we're over him. We've moved on. MoveOn.org. Okay, so I did say they have no conscience, they're sociopaths. I said there are some. Right. What is a grief vampire? Someone who's grieving and finds a way to get their hooks into someone who's grieving and just milk it for money. They have no conscience. They're sociopaths. They just don't care. They're just looking for grief they can capitalize on by doing tricks that convince paying customers they're really talking to the spirit world. Okay. Right. Not all, but some. So, this question here, is Edward a classic of the genre? I said, yes, I would characterize him as a classic grief vampire. I do, because he knows damn well what he's doing, and he does. I mean, he's not like some I investigate who really have deluded themselves into thinking that they're helping people out, and they have kind of fallen into this world of mediumship because they need a second income. And I talk about that on my channel constantly. There's a lot of mediums out there who really have no concept whatsoever of hot reading, cold reading, or the work that's been done by people like James Randi and others, Harry Houdini. There's books and large amounts of information out there for people to understand what is actually going on. And I think there's a lot of mediums out there who have no concept of it, have never looked, don't want to look, and aren't interested. They just want to keep going forward with their mediumship. And they think they're helping people and making a second income. All right. Teresa Caputo, John Edward, Tyler Henry all know exactly what they're doing. I still stand by that. Okay. Right. So then he wanted to talk about hot reads, cold reads, and editing and stuff like that. I'm over that. I know what's going on. Come on, how many times can we explain this to people? Yet again, we have to keep explaining it to people. So I had to explain that to him and to readers. And I did make sure, and I made sure that he got this in here, that hot reading is not common. And we know that from all the investigations you and I have done together over the years, is that hot reading is a very rare thing. Though some hot reading happens when we don't even realize it. Whenever you go to the same psychic more than once, you are hot read by just the psychic suddenly remembers, oh, wait, I've heard this story before. Or, oh, I know this person. I think it's her cousin. I know where this drama is going to go. And that's hot reading too. And I don't think anybody else points that out. So then he talks about Operation Pizza Roll and Operation Onion Ring, and they link these in here, but they're not to the articles I wrote. They're to Operation Onion Ring is to an interview I did, a talk I gave. It's a YouTube video, not very popular. Almost nobody saw it. Operation Pizza Roll. I looked at this link last night and I thought, oh my God, that is so cringy. I'm wearing a hat and a jacket, and it's like Susan. And I was really rambling, even more than I am right now. But I do talk about Operation Pizza Roll. These could have been linked to better things, but what am I going to do about it now? So then again, I'm talking about John Edward. I'm saying, I don't know why we're still talking about John Edward. Yes, I know he's over in Australia touring, but my goodness, what are you supposed to do about it? We can't keep educating people about this because they just don't want to hear at a certain point, because it's all been out there forever. So then I tried to get in a lot more about these enablers. This idea that what's going on is that the world of influencers, the celebrities, and the media are pushing this uncritical narrative about psychics. And people may not be able to go to their psychic, Tyler Henry or whoever, but they're going to a psychic they can afford. And then it perpetuates this idea that psychics or psychic mediums are a real thing. And they're not taking a good, hard, critical look at it. If I could get influencers that were not like influencers in the science world or influencers in the critical thinking world, I need influencers who are like, let's get ready and do makeup together. And they're doing the makeup and they're talking to women and young women, especially, about their lives and their crushes and romance and travel and all the things that that a lot of these influencers are doing and showing the product of their makeup that they're using. And then they're talking about the psychic mediums, and I need those people. And I think they get turned on if they did. I think the only the only way to really understand what's going on with the world of psychic mediums is to really take a dive in it. It's a complicated answer. It's got some nuance to it. And no, they're not really speaking to the dead. Well, you could speak to the dead. The dead just aren't talking back. Okay, so Fritz, oh, that's interesting. He uses that. So Peter starts talking about how he made an argument that this is harmful and speaking to the dead and all that kind of stuff. And then he got pushback saying, well, religion, there's this people speaking to snakes and a man rose from the dead after 3 days. And he said, like, I don't know how to push back on that. So he asked me, and I said that, how do I explain this like in 3 sentences? I said that people who are being victimized by psychic mediums, the people who are being affected by it, are people who are raised to believe in life after death. Because if you can believe that there's life after death, then it's pretty easy to believe that somebody can communicate with them. So I said children, Christians and people who believe in a afterlife are often victims of these people. And it's just playing to their cultural norms, the things they've already been raised in, the people around them. Again, it was a short answer to a very complicated answer, the question. Okay. And then, oh my God, I get this question all the time. If they're helping people, why should we bother with them? We should just leave them. They're helping people. I get that all the time. And yeah, maybe in some cases it does help. They can go through their life. They can go see a medium. They get some answers. They feel better. And then they move on with their life and never think about psychic mediums again. That's fine. I mean, just like somebody can smoke a cigarette and not become addicted to it. That happens. People can do that. But I'm dealing with people who are mostly chronically doing this and giving it out to their family and friends, their peer group, that this is right. This is good. I got help. This is what you should be doing. And that puts other people down in that path. So people are acting as enablers as well. Unwillingly, they don't know that they are really misinformed. So, like the person who smokes a lot and has a lifestyle that really says, hey, smoking's cool. You should smoke like me. And this is cool. And no, you're going to be fine. And you could always quit. Somebody who encourages and pushes, well, not pushes so much, but encourages that lifestyle. It's unhealthy. It's not a good look. And then other people look at them and go, wow, they are really cool. Look at that. Look how it looks with them holding that cigarette, and look at how they get to take all these breaks. And wow, that is neat. And that's what happened with advertising and media for a very long time in the world of smoking. I never thought I would compare smoking to psychic mediums, but my point is that we're influenced by the people around us that we want to be like, or we're influenced by people we do not like and we want to do the opposite. So having people talk about how they had the psychic reading and it was so accurate, there's no way that the guy could have possibly have known these things, and and I felt so much better. And then it, like I said, it encourages other people to do more instead of looking into it and finding out that they don't have a reading. They don't, I mean, they don't have the audio. They have no video of their reading. They're just remembering what they heard. And don't challenge them because they're going to get mad because of course they remember everything verbatim. I mean, you know how it is. So I said, I went with a classic. Remember, I have to do these in 3 or 4 sentences as a response. So I said, I went back to the basics. If somebody says they can do something and you're paying them money to do it, then they should do it. And not, we wouldn't, I use the plumber analogy. You wouldn't pay somebody to come in and fix your plumbing and then they don't fix your plumbing and you've paid them for it. You want somebody who really can do what they're doing. You don't pick some person off the street and say, hey, come fix my plumbing. You get somebody who's licensed, who has a reputation, who has maybe insurance to cover in case something happens, right? You want a professional. And just because you're being paid does not make you a professional. Okay. Here's where this is where I really want to go because I think we should be talking about this more often. Sorry, you guys. I like this in the mornings. I have nobody to talk to except my cats. So it takes me a minute to get my voice right. The point I make a lot is why are these people still in business if they're not providing the logical things that you would think of that would happen when you have the ability to communicate with the dead? If you could really communicate with the dead, well, number one, I wouldn't be just talking to anybody's random mom and dads. There's some pretty awesome conversations I'd like to have with historical figures, and learning about them and great mysteries that have happened and what it was like to live at a certain time. Yeah, I'd like to talk to my ancestors. That's amazing. But just everybody, mom and dad, everybody everywhere is mom and dad. I don't know. I mean, I guess after I've talked to some of my family and and so on, and people of the history, of course, psychics say it doesn't work like that, Susan. It doesn't work like that. No, you can't just call up Shakespeare and Eleanor Roosevelt. No, you just can't do that. It's like, why can't you? No, you just can't do that. And you can't talk to your dead family members either. Why not? No, it just doesn't work that way. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work anyway. Right. No psychic has found a missing person. No psychic has ever identified a body that was found and said, who is this person? And they said, her name is Elizabeth. Her last name is Wilson. She was traveling. She fell off the cliff. Her family, her friends abandoned her, or she was experiencing mental illness and she went into the woods and died. And nobody knows what happened to her. No, they never do that. They also never solve crimes, even though they say they solve crimes. They also are not solving crimes like, letting us know in advance of things like COVID, tsunamis. I mean, with such effect that it actually could be used. Not like, there's going to be an earthquake in California. Okay, that's helpful. Where and when? That would be helpful. But just a generic, there's going to be an earthquake in California. We have earthquakes all the time. Right. And how big is it going to be? I mean, do I need to be worried? All right. So this is something that isn't really being discussed at all. And I'm really trying to push this. And in this article, I managed to get that in there. And I'm happy I did, about them not being able to solve crimes and stuff. And I said, you better put in here about John Edward has this new book called Chasing Evil, Shocking Crime, Supernatural Forces, and an FBI's Agents Search for Hope and Justice, which is what John Edward is talking about a lot right now. I said, we better make sure that gets in this article. Otherwise, people are going to call you on it and say, well, he's got this book out where he's solving crimes. No, 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 no. The book is out, yes, but there's no crime solving in this. And I wrote, there is no hard evidence that anything John Edward said solved anything. They're just selling a book and trying to stay relevant. I've looked up the Australian missing person database and linked to it. Instead of John Edward doing shows across the country, he should get busy clearing up all these cold cases for free. And I'm sure we'll just hear crickets from him. And then he asks, are you a fan of John Edward? I guess you're not a fan. And I said, no. And then I talked again about COVID and how he had a full tour of Australia planned. Now, if he could see his own future and the futures of so many others, why couldn't he see that COVID was coming and his own tour would have to be canceled? Ta-da! And this will go nowhere, as usual. Anyway, so frustrating. Well, 2 or 3 people will go, oh, okay, cool. Anyway, I wanted to get this article out to you and let you know what's out there. And if you are watching this and you're one of my new subscribers, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. It's a little strange. The place is a little strange. I'm unscripted. I lead with my heart. I say what I mean. And there's not, I'm not going to insert clips of things exploding and kittens meowing and memes and stuff like that. I no, it's just me. And I hope you appreciate it. If you want to stick around and really understand what's going on in the world of psychic mediums, this is the place. I'm showing you examples. I'm not only showing you examples, I'm participating. And in some cases, others are helping me participate into these psychic world, the psychic stings, the psychic readings. I get readings. I attend readings, and then we break it down. And I've got a lot to go over with you guys. So I hope you've enjoyed the whole Matt Fraser 2 sessions we've done, broken it down in detail. There's 9 videos, and then there's another 9 videos that are all broken down. And it looks like people are starting to look at them and comment. I really appreciate that. But my gosh, that's hard work. That is really hard work to go through these things. So thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you and welcome to anybody who's new.